Hi, Fred Wagner here again, Papa's Painting Tips. Good to be out here recording again. Out here, I'm in here. Hey, I promised I was going to get started on this painting, and I finally have the image drawn up. I've been just kind of held up by, you know, life things, you know. Doctor's appointments, car inspections. But anyways, I've got my image drawn up here on my board. This is a Ampersand Claybord. Alright, and I just used an orange Rembrandt pencil that I like to use for transferring the image. I use the orange color because it bleeds away as you're painting. I also wanted to mention that sometimes it gets tough as an artist to feel appreciated by others, and you struggle with that. I do. I know I do. I know other people that are friends of mine that have struggled with the same thing. But I just figured, you know, I can't give up. The Lord gave me this talent, and I want to share it with you guys. And if I make money on it and someone buys a painting, praise the Lord. If not, praise the Lord. It doesn't matter to me personally. Yes, I get depressed about it. Yes, I may voice out my opinions about it. But in the long run, this is all for God's glory. This ain't for my glory. So I want to get started. I purposely did not turn on my compressor because I have the 8-gallon California Air Tool compressor now as my main compressor. I sold the Iwata Great White Shark. Yes, it was my baby for many, many years, and now it's serving someone else and blessing them. So, plus it opened up opened up opportunities for other adventures in my life, you know, using that money for other purposes. But I went and got the California Air Tool compressor. It's an 8-gallon tank. It's the 1 horsepower motor. I bought the 1 horsepower motor purposely because, yes, the 8-gallon tank's bigger than the 4-gallon tanks, and it will run longer, but with the larger capacity of air, it gives it longer cool down cycle. And painting at 25 psi with my Custom Micron SB, it doesn't draw that much air, so it doesn't fill up as often. So I didn't turn it on yet. I wanted to leave it off, excuse me, so that you guys could hear it as I talk and get stuff prepared here. So I'm gonna flip this on. I mean, it's got noise, but it's not horrible. My Great White Shark was noisy in the background, and that's supposed to be a silent compressor. One thing you will notice over time that it gives a little rattly sound, and that's because it's a diaphragm compressor. So once that diaphragm loosens a little bit, it starts to quiet down. Alright, I don't have the drain plug plugged on bottom, so excuse me for a second as I close it. Alright, but that's as loud as it is. Over time it'll probably get a little bit louder, but that's okay. That's no big deal. I can tolerate this. My other compressor was much louder than this after a while, and that was, like I said, a silent compressor. The only ones I've noticed that are a lot quieter are the little quarter horse refrigeration motor compressors. Those are the only ones that are really silent. But you get up into the half horse refrigeration compressors, like your Terry Hill models on your Silent Airs or your Great White Shark, your Hammerhead. They all are about the same decibel level. So it's not too bad to me. I can tolerate this. I'm hoping you guys can hear it over this. Otherwise, I've wasted my time recording and talking to you about this. But you wanted my reviews on it, and that's my review. decent compressor, 200 bucks. It breaks down after a couple years. I can go buy another one. Great White Shark, if that broke down, a $1,600 to $1,800 compressor nowadays. That's a lot to try to replace. So, yeah. I'm gonna get started on setting up here. I've got some of my stuff working already. We're already up to, well, we are not gaining ground here. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Silly me. We're already almost up to full capacity, so it hasn't taken that long. We're up at, let's see, I can't see it that well. We're right about 100 pounds in the tank. It shuts off right around 110, 12 to 120, something around there. You can fiddle with that and raise it, but I'd be leery on doing that with some compressors, depending on what kind of tank it is, aluminum or steel. So, but anyways, let's get started on this. I'm gonna pause the video while I mix up my paints. We're using, and there you go. That's 8-gallon tank with a 1-horse compressor, and that didn't take what? 2 minutes? 3 minutes maybe? Maybe a little more because I was busy talking. I don't know. But not long at all. I'm using EFX paints. And I use this on the Claybord. And this is not, like I said, it's Ampersand Claybord. I had one left. After this, I'll go back to making my own homemade Claybord. I just got these for Christmas 2 years ago, or a year ago, not this past Christmas, but the year before, because I wanted to test them out as opposed to my own homemade. My own homemade, I struggle a little bit getting it perfectly smooth, and then sometimes if you overdo the clay, you can get cracks in it. From trying to dry it too fast and having the clay too thick. So you gotta go thin layers slowly and build it up so you don't get the cracks. And my last painting, it had cracks on the outer edge, but it kind of gave it a rustic feel. It was kind of cool looking in a way. But anyways, I'm gonna be using this EFX. Probably some transparent base in it when I get later. I'm gonna do a little more experimenting on this painting with some opaques for the base and then transparents over that to build my color and depth. This I have no reference for this painting. If you had followed the first part of the drawing, I talked about that. No reference at all. This is all inspiration of the Lord. I've gotten so much positive feedback. It's incredible. The amount of people that have viewed it and said, you know, wow. It's just many years of experience and remembering. So, and be able to translate that. It doesn't always work for me. It's easier with a reference, believe me. It is a cold, wintry day, by the way, outside. It is blowing, and I shoveled the driveway, which I hate doing because I'm not in good health, and it's already drifting over. But anyways, let's go and get started mixing on this stuff, and we will get painting. So stay tuned. Papa's painting tips. I'm not going to do a lot today, and I'm probably going to put up segment by segment on this video, only so that one is not a huge long video, but two, so that you can get a truer aspect of how long it takes to develop, and it's not 8 hours sitting there and then trying to fast forward to where you left off. So hang in there. I'm going to get my paints mixed up and get started. Well, now that was a big break. You didn't notice, I did. Yeah, wife texted me. did I make the macaroni salad for dinner tonight? And it's like, oh no, I forgot. Whoops. So I had to shut down for a little bit, make macaroni salad for tonight's dinner, of which I probably shouldn't be eating because of trying to be on that low carb diet. Oh, let's see. Okay, well, anyways, I've got opaque flesh here that I had bought. I don't usually use the pre-mixed. It's very pink. So I'm going to alter it. But first, I'm going to take, I put some distilled water in a cup. And I use this to dispense my drops. It's easier than using the bottle that I've got the water in. So I'm going to, do I want to thin this down any? I'm going to be brushing at 25 psi, so let's see. I was listening to someone else that was painting, and they don't thin their paints. I used to never thin my paints till I started working with the Micron. He was working with a B. I mean, 0.18 to a 0.2 millimeter. That's really not that huge of a difference. But anyways, Andy was experiencing a lot of tip dry. I'm just going to hit this with a little bit of water, only because this paint's been sitting around quite a while. So I put, I got 6 drops of water in there. I'm going to do 6 drops. Okay, I lied. I put 10 drops just to start out with as my base. I'm going to try to keep track of how much I'm putting in there so I know if when I got to remix the color. So I always try to make grab my glove, and I got to do my usual maneuvering with my glove. I got to cut my fingers, not my fingers, but my fingertips. I like to do the thumb and the forefinger. Shout out to one of my friends who sent these to me. I'm not going to mention your name, only because I don't know if you want to be acknowledged. So I'm going to respect your privacy. Oh, come on, where are my scissors? You know, when you're looking for stuff and you're trying to get things done. I got too much garbage in my drawers, my problem. I gotta clear these out. Get down to just what I need for painting. This I'm gonna need. Oh my. You know, I'm gonna go get the house scissors and cut them with the house scissors. I can't find my little fingernail scissors that I keep in that drawer. I like to cut the thumb and the forefinger off the gloves. This is mainly to keep the oils from my skin from affecting the painting surface, especially if you use synthetic paper or working on automotive. It really affects your clear coat afterwards. So I'm going to start with my 10 opaque flesh. I'm going to go, I'm shooting for a darker tone. So I'm gonna, because he's out, this is a shepherd in the field when the angels announced the birth of Christ. So I'm gonna do him a little more of a red. Normally I'll put a golden ochre in it. This time I'm going to use the brown ochre. Let's see, we'll put a couple drops, maybe just guessing. It's not like I got a color match. Okay, I put 3. I'll do 3 of the red ochre. I'm going for a deep mid-tone on this painting, not too dark. I don't think that's the delivery. I think that's just the wind blowing snow past my Ring doorbell. And I got some sepia smoke, so I'm going to put like 3 drops. So I've done 10, 3, 3 so far. And I'm going to do something, well, I think he used emerald. This is something that Steve Driscoll did in one of his videos. God rest his soul. I miss Steve. Not that I was a personal friend of his, but we chatted many times over Facebook and such. It's a tragedy. All right. And he will use green into his sepia smoking green. Now you see me reaching over here after I'm dripping out the bottle. I like to close the cap and then wipe it off on a towel that I got here. That towel is ages old. Because it gets rid of that paint on top and then you don't end up with paint flakes. So let's give this a mix. See what we got for a color. It might be too green because we're starting with a pink. And that's not bad. It's a very muted pink. I almost want it. Got a purpley cast to it. That might work out pretty good for starters. And then we can always go darker. It's almost impossible to go lighter. I mean, there's ways to do it with opaque white over the top, but then you got to deal with a lot of blue shift in your colors. So I got all my colors sitting there right now. Yeah, I think I'm going to start with this color. You know what? No. I'm going to go 2 more drops of the red ochre. All right. And if I like what I see, I'm going to... Yeah, that's better. That's better. I got a deep red flesh color. This will be good to start. This is almost the way I would paint my t-shirts back in the day. All right. So, I'm going to write this down. I got a couple sheets of paper here. One I'm going to use is ripping a freehand stencil. And the other one's just in case I screw up my freehand stencil. But anyways, I'm going to write down my color mix that I just made. Okay. let's see, we used opaque flesh. Ten drops of that. We used red ochre. And we used, let's see, started with 3. And I added 2 more, I think I just said, so 5 drops of that, then 3 of everything else. So green, 3, sepia smoke, 3, and then brown ochre, 3. So that gives me the recipe for what I used. Oh, and then I put 6 drops of water. So that I know. I could have went, excuse me if I kick this. I'm going to close that back shade because it's casting too much of a shadow. Even though I want that sunlight, we're winter time and the sun's coming around now. Normally all day it's the northern light coming in the opposite side, but right now it's the back side. And unfortunately, what time is it? We're going for 2. So I got about a good hour I can play with this. So what I might try to even do is set up my phone, maybe even go live. So I put 7 drops in here. Oh, something I want to mention before I suck paint into there. When you start out painting for the day, always crack open your chuck nut on the back of the needle. Pull your needle back, give it a little quarter turn, then reinsert it, tighten it up. What that'll do is it keeps your needle wearing evenly, because a lot of times they don't quite center up. So now my common practice is just to take my one board. You've seen this board, another. It's just a spray. Alright. This is my color there. That fleshy brown color. And it's spraying pretty smoothly. So I like E-Tac. And if you're in the market looking for paints, I mean, there's many really excellent quality paints around. Createx Illustration, E-Tac EFX, Grex EFX, Marissa's paints. Now she's into using inks as far as I know. Alright, we're going to start around the eyes, and I am going to try this method with the ripping. So I'm going to just tear this in half to start with, because I don't need this big huge sheet in my hand. Then I'm going to approximately, let's see, do I want this now? I don't want that long a sheet even. I can re-tear one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear it, kind of make curves, a bunch of different curves in it, and make a freehand stencil out of it. Then you want to rub down your edges a little so you don't have too many hairs on it, because you want a softer edge. Hang on to both your negative and positive on this, because that's going to come in handy for doing wrinkles. So all we're using this today is to create edges on the painting. I think I got it even too drastic in a way. Let's use this one And then you kind of try to find a match in your stencil, and then you can move it around. I think let's do this. Alright, that's good enough. That's good enough. We can play with it. If I don't like the way it's working, I'm experimenting with this method. I've done it before. But anyways, make sure I got paint. And we're going to actually spray on the paper. And I'm angling. And that's just letting the overspray over the edge there hit the surface, not so much. Yeah, I went too hard on this. Alright, that'll work for there. Alright. Then we can these are the bottom sides of these shadows. So, not used to holding things in my hand. To that effect, anyways. So, then we'll go in, I'll go in, and I'll just darken these edges just a little bit. These are the bottom sides of the wrinkles. And then I gotta highlight, because I gotta come back in. I'm thinking of my light source. I could actually just do this freehand. I've been doing this long enough to know this is just a quicker way. Okay, and we're going to freehand in this over here. Now the light source is coming from up here because he's looking up at the angel. And the angel's casting off light. I'm also going to have a secondary light source coming off down here, like he's sitting by his little campfire to keep warm as he watches over his sheep. So, in here, you're going to have the light source hitting here, so the top of this lid up in here is going to be highlighted. So I'm going to put in some of these bottom, and truthfully, they'd be shadowed up also. I got this too drastic, man. Yeah, I got this too drastic. Let's rip another one. I'm not caring for that. So, we'll make it less, oops, that was more drastic. We'll give bigger curves. I could use a freehand stencil if I wanted to. I mean, I've got them in my drawer. This just gives me bigger. And of course, someone is texting me. Oh, it was Messenger. Or for YouTube. One of my friends, Alex.
Most financial advisors collect hidden
Hey,
fees on
stop. There we go. He's just answering something I wrote to him. Oh, it was someone else coming. Sorry. Oh, you just liked my comment. Alright, sorry. Nothing to do with videos or airbrush. All to do with kayak. Alright. Push down some of those real rough edges. I don't want to curl it over. I'm mainly going to be using this area in here. So, let's go back in. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Alright, we're going to get the undersides of these, so we're just going to blast that in. Oop, oversprayed. Right. And what we're doing is we're creating those little wrinkled edges subtly, not spraying at them. This is just to get them started, matching kind of the shapes. All right. And we've got, I'm not in a real hurry for this painting. I'll take my time. I don't know if you can see there the way the light is hitting that. I'm not a big fan of shields either, because as you can see, you don't always have a match for an area. Now in the eyeball, we've got a little part going in here. We can do a little. Now we're going to come back, since I got that in, we're going to come back with our erasers. I got me a soft one. I've got a hard tip eraser. And then I'm going to grab my Euro tool. Fiber. I use that mostly for fur though. Not a lot for this. Been a while since I painted. I feel like I'm so out of practice. But we're just gonna go back in and we're gonna, at this point, just work on these highlights a little. See, the top sides of the wrinkles are gonna be highlighted. This shouldn't really have been highlighted. Or not highlighted. That shouldn't have been darkened there. We can darken this one, this edge. I went too far down. Let's use the hard eraser actually. Okay. We're just gonna pull that. And imagining what our, this is not an extreme up close, so you're not going to see as much of the textures in it. Yeah, the hard eraser is taking it down better. Now this side of this is part of the eyelid, so that won't have a lot. If this was a lot closer, I'm going to actually scrape into it too. I want to make some pretty decent detail in this painting. Right. This side of the eye, so we got some. That's the thing I like about Claybord. Doing the homemade, you can do a lot more subtle erasing in it. Now, the other thing is with using my opaque color, I've got, once it gets to the full saturation of the color you can see in this cup, it won't get any darker. It's not like using transparents over the top of it. So, alright, now we're going to go in and I'm going to, I've brought up some of the highlights. I got one more spot I got to do in there. Let's go back with the hard eraser. Truthfully, I could use Just picking up that top edge. Let's use a scratch brush for a minute. That does a good job pulling paint off of these. We're going to begin to build that layer of paint around this eye. I'm using this in a sense almost like a knife. I mean, I could scratch. Let's do something here. I've got a lot of... I don't know what I used that it was so dark. Alright, that's a little bit better. I could get a new refill into this and get fresh. And this is just to make little specular highlights on that flesh. It'll pull it up quicker than doing the eraser over in here because these are a little bit larger. So we're going to layer this a couple times as part of the eye up here is going to have a little more drastic because that's the eyebrow coming up there, so it's catching the light more. You gotta think of the form and the curve of the structure in the face. Very important for form. Okay? Understanding what parts are gonna catch the light and stand out, what parts are gonna drop back in. So, I've got me some cloth here I've never tried before. I've used dryer sheets. This is a gardening, the blocking sheets, I believe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I want to test it. I've never used it before to spray skin textures through it. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be drastic enough. It can get some really fine. I suppose I'd have to pull it apart a little bit. Just looking at what it did here. Let's give it a shot. I can always reach. Sorry. I'm bumping the easel by mistake because I had a few comments about my easel's direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mist over this, try to create some soft skin texture in there. Yeah, truthfully, my old dryer sheet worked better than this. This is pretty tough. I think it's called banting. It's the stuff that they put on the bottom of. I'm just trying to work gradually. They put it on the bottom of furniture. This is, I believe that's what this stuff is. I'm gonna have to look into the other stuff that I've seen people use. This is just a quick way to get in skin texture into that eye. I'll zoom in a little bit. Well, if I zoom in, then I gotta readjust the focus. I'll do that in a minute. I'm just keeping the brush far away and I'm spraying a mist through this. I don't want to go too heavy because there's not enough, to me there's not enough texture in that. And that's actually how you can get away with full strength paints with that type of method. I'm just going to pick out some of the highlights in here for that eyebrow. But that's how you can use the opaque without thinning it and just blast it through a brush. You don't have to worry so much about it clogging that much. See, I was using before my Scotch-Brite torn pads. The only problem with the Scotch-Brite, it was hard to see through it. So this is a dryer sheet that I actually have dried clothes through. And this, truthfully, is a little more open than other stuff. I'm just paying attention to where my lines are. And this is just to get a quick little texturing on the face. Yeah, I don't want to use that spot. Okay, that's good, that's good. Just paying attention to my lines behind it. Okay, and it's going to be a dark, dirty looking painting because it's supposed to be at night, and then I'm going to do extreme highlights. That's good for that. This worked a little bit better than that other sheet. That's not pulled apart enough to my likings. Alright, again, I'm going to go in now with a little bit of the soft eraser and get these upper edges of these highlights. Just to clean them up, brighten them up a little bit. Like I said, it's going to go a lot darker, so it's just the start of this painting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little more paint in, because doing it that way you blast a lot more paint quickly. I like to work left to right, especially if I'm using synthetic paper, because I'm right-handed. If I go and I paint over here and then start painting over here, if I bump or rub the painting on this side, I'm going to make a mark and screw something up. So what I'm going to do now, let's get that eraser off. Now I'm going to take my paint and I'm going to dust over this. And what that's going to do is it's going to darken up the layer of paint below. And then where I erased, that'll come darker, but the value of the paint that was on there is going to intensify. So you don't have just white highlight flush in there. And then I gotta pay attention to that detail of the wrinkles that I made. And the other thing I'm going to end up having to do is start erasing out some of these lines. In here it'll be a lot darker. Down this side of the nose. So you can see already you're getting a little bit of the roundness in here. Let's go back into that a little more and bring up some of those highlights, because this angel is bright. And yeah, I think the hard eraser. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start hitting on that orange pencil a little more. That way that drops out and isn't so evident. Alright. And you'll see the contrast between the rounded shadowed edge from above and the highlighted edge from below that wrinkle. So I wasn't worried too much about my base drawing. Okay. That almost looks like too much of a line. I don't like that, but we're gonna fix that in a while, a little bit later. And I'm just going back and forth with soft and hard erasers. We could do this. Why don't we do this too? I'm just having fun with this image. I could use my number 11 X-Acto or my scratchboard tool. And I think I'm gonna try it first with the scratchboard tool, just to pick some of these. I like the scalpel shape to it. I'm just gonna start picking that top edge to get some light highlights into here. Then I'm gonna mist over again. And this is just to get that weathered look on this man's face. I'm not working on creating I don't know if anybody's seen Drew's latest project that his portrait workshop in Florida is doing. Holy moly. He's doing a freehand, no stencils, no scratching, no erasing, pure airbrush. I remember arguments on the forum about that. Oh, you're not truly airbrushing if you're not working on pure airbrush and no stencils and scratching and such. Okay, I didn't, that blade's a little dull. I think I need a new one. So I'm gonna work in with this now and get some of these more drastic highlights like I want. Because when I mist over, it's gonna make a difference. I really want to show drama between dark and light. I like the Claybord for this fact of scratching. Synthetic, yes, I know you can do that in synthetic as well. Okay. And this is just to pull up some of these more drastic highlights. I mean, I could paint in all of this by hand if I wanted to. But I'd be here for hours upon hours just painting a small section. Okay, now this is the bottom lid, so I gotta think of what I'm doing here. This is the bottom lid. This is just in the eye. That's I remember where my highlights are. I don't want to screw this up. That's his eyeballs. So this is, okay. This is actually the bottom lid. So I want this. Quite a bit drastic compared. Then I'm gonna shadow in this edge of this lid. We got a little bit. It's kind of fun not having a reference that I gotta follow so much. Yes, I've got to follow now my drawing, but being that this is an original, I can do whatever I like. Alright. Let's go back in here and soften that a little bit. Same with these. Just wanted a little more contrasty. I don't know how much you can see of that. I wish I knew. It's hard to see on this camera. I like using my phone a lot better. Right. I want this part brighter. And we're going to smooth these a little bit. Just going to open up this texture a little more. Same up in here. Just get a little bit of it brighter. We're going to scratch in his eyebrows on, or his eyelashes up in here. It already looks very dirty, so I'm going to end up misting over with some yellow. I want these wrinkles to show. And down here, I'm waiting for my new prescription for my glasses. This prescription is great for seeing up close. Now this part of the eye is gonna catch that light. And over here, I'm just squiggling around. How's that for a descriptive word? Squiggling. Okay. Blow that off. Let's give a little more mist. Not too much, because I don't want to push that too far back. Over here it's going to be less detail, so this is going to shadow. Over in here, this is all shadowy. Alright, now we're just going to lightly knock back the bottom edges. I don't need it too terribly dark. I could use my stencils to do this, or my freehand stencil. And you can really start to see those wrinkles come to life. I think what I want to do is I think I want to pull a couple I don't know if it's going to show up enough. Yeah, just a couple edges like that in there. I'm not spraying on the board itself. And maybe up in here a little more. Okay. That really pushes that. Now over in here, I can freehand this in. It's gonna kind of knock back to the background there. Okay. I want a little too far back, but we can bring that back up. And then here's going to be a little bit darker. We don't have to go too dark with this color because we're going to come back with other colors to deepen that in. That dark sensation. And this is not going to be a monochrome painting anyways. So right now I'm going to come back in and just lightly bring back a little bit of this highlight. Not so much that I'm taking the paint completely off the board. I just wanted to set that a little bit better. Because in this, you're going to have drastic dark and light. So that's gonna be a little bit brighter up here. You can always, like I said, you can cover up the dark or the light. You can't cover up dark that well. Okay, that's looking nice. I'm liking the way this looks so far. Like I said, I don't want the scratchy marks. And here's going to get quite dark. I'm still going to work this just a hair. I want the form to be in there first. I can shadow it down later. And again over here. Alright, that's looking really good. So let's go back in freehand. I'm trying to watch my time here because I got to go pick up my wife from work. Like I said, I had the car inspected today, so I've got the car. Just make sure I'm... There it is. Ah, there I go, hitting that. Oh, I know why. Ah, silly me. I had the one handle from turning that. Earthquake. Fred's having a problem. He's getting sucked into the line. I'm just gonna really crisp up a little of this edge. Now I've had no tip dry at all so far. I will pick the tip too on Airbrush. Right, over in here, I'm going to get a little bit of pores working. I'm just pulsing that trigger just to get little dots. And maybe we'll make sure it's still spraying. Yep. And this is almost full strength paint. I don't know if anybody paid attention there. I shouldn't be covering that up. I could actually raise the air pressure just a little bit if I wanted. Let's see. Now on this eyeball, I'm going to let this color reflect into it to become my shadows. And it's going to be darker in here. some of this in here underneath that eyelid. Again over here. And down under here, we need this to go a little darker. Like so. What we will do is we will lighten this up just a little bit under it. Let's knock that off a little because I went a little too dark there. Then in the eyeball, what we can do is and this is going to look like almost like there's moisture in his eye. That's why I'm picking some of this. I'm not doing an entire line. Then I'm also going to start doing the highlight in his eye. Just to start it. I really want to get myself a piece of dowel wood to experiment with that too. I think that works better though on. I think that would work better on synthetic paper. Let's do this with the fiber eraser or fiber pen. Yeah, that's better. That's what I wanted. Once we put in the real dark ones, but this just gives us an idea of where we're starting at. You can always adjust it later. Like so. Truthfully, if this is hitting here, you're going to have a mega highlight over here. Not mega, but it's bouncing through. And then let's put in a couple little, just little tiny ones. Gives the appearance that there's moisture in the eye. Okay. I know right now this looks extremely dark in comparison, but as we go further into our darker values with other paints, this is gonna appear brighter. We're just bringing up some of that skin texture, creating the division there. Now over here, this is the shadowed side, but we got that secondary light source, so I don't want to go too heavy with that. Tell you what, let's step this up in air pressure. As you can see, with as much as I've been spraying, this compressor has not turned on yet. I've been painting for a while now. So let's do this. Let's start filling this pupil in just with this color for the heck of it. Get a sense of the eyeball. We're going to go over it with a real dark color anyways. And we'll put in maybe a few of the little parts of the cornea and iris. Alright, and then we can work back. He's gonna I think I'll do him with brown eyes. He'd be a Hebrew man. I don't recall too many images of Jewish men with, and I'm not trying to be racist or anything, with blue eyes. Okay. Let's do this. Let's pull this down this way. Okay, that's looking good. Maybe we'll reflect some green in there and some yellows. Who knows? Whatever moves us. But that's the start of it. We got a good start on this side. Get these wrinkles a little bit, because this edge is catching the light. Okay, looking good. Why don't we do this too, is we'll go over some of this orange. You gotta be careful because sometimes it has a tendency of spreading that onto the white and you no longer get that white look. It's easier to take this down with the soft eraser. It pulls it up. I didn't need it this dark. I was pressing a little bit too hard on my orange pencil. But as you can see in here, that orange is pretty much dropped out. You'd think someone's at my door all the time, but it's not anybody at my door. It's just that wind blowing the snow across the motion sensor. Just pulling in a little bit of this under here. It's mostly going to be shadowed. We're just about at full saturation of that paint anyways. My habit is to want to look at my iPad and say, okay, is this what I'm looking for? But there ain't no image other than my drawing. Right. Yeah, we got some windy conditions outside today. Now I'm just going to pull some of these little darker lines, and that we're at full saturation there. Hope my head's not in your way. And voila! I've been painting for off and on for an hour, and that finally kicked on. My assessment of these California air tool compressors right now is quite high. I give it a thumbs up, man. Not bad. You're looking for a good cheap, well, I'm not gonna say cheap, they're not cheap, but a good reliable compressor for a good value. Just giving a little bit of dark over here because this side is gonna be starting to pick up, so I'm getting a little more drastic with this. And then down here, yep. Move it around, get a lot of interesting shapes. And this is going to be a mole over here, so we can darken that in so we don't lose it. Okay. Okay, I hope you're enjoying this. It's probably where I'm going to leave off for myself today, only because of time constraints. I got to clean up. You say, but you got your tuna salad done, or not tuna salad, but this is going to shadow into this. Now over here, it's just all kind of improvised freehand. There's not a lot of detail over in this side of the face. Now there would be color in here. Okay, looking good. Looking very good, actually. I'm liking where this is going. I can add, let's, right. If I spray that, that's the shorter piece anyways. Let's go this. We'll do that one. That's close. Just letting that overspray do its work. As you can see, I'm spraying actually right on that. Is to create these forehead wrinkles. Let's give them a couple wrinkles in there. Just darken up those a little bit. The bottom sides, and then we got to come back in and get that skin texture on the top. And we've got one I made kinda. See how that does that, but that's okay. We can use that to our advantage. These are our paintings. These are our emotions. We can do whatever we want in this world on our paintings. Gotta lighten these up. Like so. If his eyebrows are raised, this is all going to be kind of squinched up. Not horribly wrinkled, but enough. And I just want a little texturing in it. So I'm just giving circular motions. Random. Same over here where the light would be hitting more. You'd see a lot more over in here. And this is a soft eraser. You really couldn't do this too well on synthetic. You can really get a little more aggressive on the Claybord. And again, over here. That got a little too dark over there. We're starting to come around to the shadow side, so I don't want too much coming into there. My dog's got, I think, bladder problems, or she just wants a treat. She wants to go out too much. Every time I turn around, she's an old girl. And she's 14 years old. Doggy years. We see already that face is starting to take shape. And on this, let's do this with the hard eraser. To highlight the top of that mole. Once we hit the darkest darks on this painting, those highlights are going to just pop right out at you. I don't want to keep misting over and destroy it. But as you can see, shape is starting to come into that face. We've got, let's see, 230 here. My dog's gonna have to hold it. No, I'm not cruel. She was just out. That's why. Just making sure. There you go. Bump, bump, bump. Sorry. Raising that up to 30 psi worked better. for this drawing. Right now I'm just kind of lightly hitting now I'm going to do a little figurating in here. Same up in here. Oh, out of paint. Be a good idea to put paint in if I'm going to paint. I'm like, why is nothing coming out? I don't have no tip dry going on, and sure enough, that's why. I'm just kind of going on the back sides of some of these little bumpy areas that I created with that sheet. Just to create the shadowed side of these wrinkly marks to give that skin real texture look. Same over here. I don't want to go too heavy. A couple little freckle dots going on, maybe. I don't know how much you can see on that. I hope you can see this. My biggest advice to anybody wanting to airbrush is practice, then practice, then practice more. You can't gain good control unless you're practicing. Alright, we got to deepen up this corner. Coming up. Okay, like so. Actually, this side could be a little shaded back. Like that. Because it wouldn't round out so much there. This is the eyebrow bone that's coming up. And that comes here, but then it dips back in right back here. And then it's the socket is actually all this area. So that bone's coming back here. And then the cheekbone comes out like that and rounds around. So what we can do let's just create a little texture in here with the airbrush itself. And this is, I'm trying to refrain myself because this is not a monochromatic painting, so I don't want to go overboard. Let's just lightly mist in some skin texture on that. Whoops. I'm kind of looking the way these patterns are in this. Just to get a sense. There we go. That's good. All right. Now we can use this paper if we want. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, that was too drastic on that one. Where'd my negative part of that one go? And my positive? I think I tore it in half. That's okay. Now, let's see. If I'm getting a secondary light source coming up from down here. Down on this side of the face. I don't see anything good there that I want to use. Out of paint. So, I think we're going to call it a day with this one. The way I've got it started. Put a little cleaner in that for the moment, just while it sits, and I'm going to hit this with a couple erasing, a little bit of erasing in there. Going back to that soft tip eraser. The top of this cheek, trying to imagine how this would go. See, that socket would be following up like that, so I don't want that too dark in there. And then the highlight would be most drastic on the top of this cheekbone, so gotta think of that. And then we got the secondary hitting over here. But that's gonna be a different shade. It's gonna be brown. Or I mean, what am I saying, brown? Cleaner. Open this up a little more. Maybe just a hair lighter on the top of this eyelid. Pop that out a little bit. Same right here. This part catching a little light going that way. And then again on this side. Just lightening that up. And then again here, up in here. Making sure I leave a lot of little darker spots. And like so. Okay, I think that's looking good. Let me move the camera over so you can get a little different view. Straight on view at this point. Oh, whoa, I just got zapped. So, gonna move this camera over and adjust it so you can see what I've done so far today. It's hard to tell on this monitor, but lower this down a little bit and level it off. That's weird. I must have dripped water on my leg. Sorry. Okay. That's what's going on so far. Let's put you on autofocus. Turn off manual. Go back to auto so I don't lose it. Let's telephoto in a little bit for you so you can see what's going on in there. But that's the base color. Like I said, this is going to be very on the darker side, this painting. But I want to keep the some bright highlights in it, so you get the true sense of it being a nighttime scene, but with a hot light source hitting from above. Alright, and again, contrast against that pure white, that looks real dark. It's not that dark, really. And that's an opaque flesh mixture. Alright, that's going to be it for this session. And I will be back on this tomorrow, hopefully, if not Monday. A lot of things going on, like I said. Okay. Till next time.